Okay, there we
Got it. All right. And it's Katie
Yep.
Brinkley, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. We're on episode 6.
Yes. Cool.
All right.
I think.
I'm just gonna do the little intro. If you remember from the last time, no scripts. We just kind of roll with it and get into a conversation about what's going on. I felt like it flows a lot better than having the list of 10 questions that we have to get through, and
Yeah.
it just seems very segmented. So
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna do the little intro and then do a little refresher for the audience from the last show of where you were at and what kind of what you're into now, and then
Okay.
I guess we'll jump in from there if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And if we ever get stuck, these are all edited, so all
Perfect.
of my mess-ups and I don't know, gaps will be fixed and all that
I
stuff.
like to
My
keep
brother.
yours on, though, Marcus.
Oh my gosh, and you guys have to help me with this. My brother was listening to the show and he said, okay, new drinking game. Every time you say you take a drink. And then he texts me back like 25 minutes later. He's like, I can't make it. So I've got to watch my apparently.
That's funny.
So welcome back to MVP Real Estate Podcast, Season 3, Episode 6. We have Katie Brinkley here, back again from the beautiful cold state of Colorado right now. So welcome back. Thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk a little social media with you guys, and same thing for me as when I was here before. I still am helping entrepreneurs, business owners, real estate agents, and coaches and consultants on planning out their social media and having a strategy around their social media so that they're not overwhelmed anymore. And I think it's one of the biggest problems for so many entrepreneurs out there is we have to do all the things and check all the boxes. And there's a lot of problems that that's one of the biggest problems that many entrepreneurs have is they get overwhelmed by it. And so they don't do anything at all.
I know. For the first time this year, I finally sat down and did a full year of social media, like a full year social media calendar. And I was like, these are the things we're going to cover each and every month. And these are the things we're going to cover each specific month. And I was like, it took me a good 2, maybe 3 days to actually sit down and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then to research the topics and like get little bullet points. It's a lot. I think that's why they hire you, because it's a lot.
It is. And I think that, that's one of the biggest problems is there's so many different things that you need to do, boxes that you need to check. And when you have a strategy around it, it makes things a lot easier. So if you just know like, okay, this is the order of how I need to do things. Mm-hmm. Now I that's the biggest goal for me is to take away that overwhelm so that when you are doing everything the strategically and checking all those boxes with your social media, it's only going to take you about an hour a week, maybe less, and you're still getting results because not everybody wants to be like yours truly and spend all day on social media. There's other things to do with our businesses. So that's the biggest goal for me is when people have figured out how to be successful on social media, how to get those inbound leads, how to have a strategy around it. And it's not taking them 10 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And Natasha, I'm glad to hear that you've done all that background work because I didn't even, it's all behind the scenes for me, which is super great. Which is why I thank you when you get all that stuff done. But it's I'd equate it to like storytelling. Like you can't just sit down and know where you're going to be in a year to tell that story of what's going on in your business. So to go out and map it out where you want to be and where you want to go, I think is super efficient, one. And two, I think it makes the message cleaner because again, it seems very orderly when you're in it, but to put the glasses on of somebody who's looking at your business through social media or through your different marketing outlets, the story can get very jumbled very quickly. So I think telling that story clean, neat, efficiently is like the best way to get that word out. So
Well,
kudos to everybody in marketing, because I
well,
don't understand it.
that's one of the biggest things though, with the way that social media is these days, is it's not just buy, look at what we do, this is what I do. It's a story. It's exactly with what you said. It's the story around your business. And I know it is so easy to hide behind a logo, but not all of us are Nike. And when you are pushing out just your logo, people aren't going to really resonate with you until they've gotten to know who you are as a brand first. And a lot of times it's you as the business owner stepping into the limelight and sharing your story. After that, you can push the logo out more if you want. And I know that sounds kind of backwards for so many of us who have spent thousands of dollars on logos and branding strategies, but it's not to say that you still should not do that. But as a business owner, people want to do business with people. And if 2020 taught us anything, it's that you still need to have somewhat of a social media presence. You need to have an online presence. How can you still do that networking, do that face-to-face communication to talk about what it is that you do? Well, it's on social media. And when you have that presence with your face as the avatar, when you're showing up on video, when you're showing up through your Instagram stories, people will begin to know, like, and trust you. They'll want to do business with you. Maybe not right now, but they'll tell their friends about you and they'll become a part of your business's community. And that's the biggest goal of social media, is creating a community around your brand, especially as a small business owner or a real estate agent. That means everything, because people want to do business with people.
You know, it's interesting. You're talking a lot about this whole community thing. Do you feel like we had this community aspect before social media? Like, do you feel like this was part of marketing before social media, or do you feel like it's evolved and become this group community?
Well, I think it was maybe like 3 years ago in the Super Bowl. And that's something that all of us need to really, that when that happened during the Super Bowl, when Facebook spent who knows how many millions of dollars promoting Facebook groups. I think they had 3 spots during the Super Bowl. So they probably had to spend at least 10, $20 million on those ads. And by having those ads out there and showcasing groups, not the rest of Facebook, that was a big sign as to where they thought that social media was going to be going. And now think about it. So on Facebook, the majority of my feed is all these different groups that I'm a part of, whether it's a social media group or the Littleton neighborhood group. Those are what I'm shown first. And I'm a part of these communities. And it's the same with Instagram. You know, you're creating a community around your Instagram page. And I think that we've seen with the rise of NFTs, and not to take this down an entire NFT conversation, but with NFTs, you're buying those NFTs and buying into that community. And so I think that everything with social media is evolving into this community focused platform. And does that mean as a business owner that, okay, well, maybe that I'm not included in that? No, I think that you need to refocus as to what's the community that's your business is supporting, that your community, that your business is trying to help grow and nurture. I think that without 2020 and all of us being shut into our houses, I don't think that social audio and all of these community driven personal brands on social media would have come quite as fast as it did. But with all of this, we've seen people are willing to have some of their best friends be online. I mean, I met 2 friends that I made online on Clubhouse. They bought tickets out to Denver and they got in my car and went up to the mountains with me. I was like, you know, a decade ago, we would have all thought that we were crazy for doing what we're doing right now, but this seems extremely normal. And it's
hilarious.
Because
I did the same thing. I mean, I met a gal out in Oregon and we met up, got coffee. We're like best friends now. Like we're chatting every other day. And I'm like, it was from a group. Exactly. It was from a group. It's so
Well,
weird.
and I was gonna say, I mean, like, do you remember maybe like a decade ago, it was like oh God, don't tell anyone that we actually met on Match.com
Yes.
or that we met online. It's
And I
kind
met
of
my husband
embarrassing.
on Match.
Yes, but I mean, like, it's so normal now, and it's
Exactly.
not to say everybody to go out and start engaging with all the creepers that end up in your DMs, but I mean, there are genuine people out there that you can connect with.
That is true. There are some creepers out there, guys.
Guaranteed on both sides, I'll say. But it is an evolution. Like a decade ago, it was taboo to get into somebody that you don't know their car. And now we've got Uber and Lyft, where it's almost like a norm. Like, I want to just get on my phone, some random person's going to pick me up. I'm going to trust that they're going to take me to the next place. And that is like, it's actually incentivized now. Like, don't drive your car. Please use Uber. Please use Lyft.
Yeah.
There's the first of the show. It's like a norm across our society now, which for the better in most cases. It's fascinating where it's going. And I think I didn't even know that Facebook was pushing groups 3 years ago. I thought this was a longer thing.
Yeah.
Has it really only been 3-4 years that it's been around?
It's only been around 3-4 years. They've been around, but they
Wow.
have, like I said, when they did those Super Bowl ad buys, that's when everything really shifted with the algorithm and with the feed. And it really changed, my feed and my experience on social media. I mean, I look forward to seeing what's going on in my group. Like, so I'm in a Colorado Avalanche fan group, and I go into that group after every single Avs game to see what other people are saying. I'm not hanging out in my news feed to see what my aunt's dog looks like, So I think that that's where a lot of, and as a business owner, how can you capitalize on this? And
I guess I never really thought about it that way, but I do. I go to my groups more often than I look at my friends' anything. Like, I go to my Airbnb groups, I go to my real estate groups. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And well, and I don't think that that's going to change anytime soon. I think that with the whole meta and Web3 universe, I definitely see social media is going to be evolving. And if you're not paying, I'm not saying to go out there and get a second mortgage on your house and put it all into Bitcoin. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying that, like, we need to pay attention to these billionaires, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, with what they're doing and how kind of they are seeing the future with social media, because I definitely think that we will be joining into strictly groups in the future. I think that that's really how a lot of the social media landscape is going to be changing, and we're going to be communicating and networking and really identifying with people online in these social communities more than just a social media, this is a picture of my dog kind of post.
But those
it has evolved, because that was Facebook when it first started, was just, I'm going to show you what's going on in my life. And then you scroll through individuals to go through it, from what I remember. I was way past the origination point, though. I think I was like 4 or 5 years after it started, then I jumped in. And from what I know now, I do buy, sell, trade groups. I do the real estate groups, like the meetups, and all that stuff has gotten so much easier, especially as a small business trying to connect and network. I don't know how people did it back in the day, because if I want to go to a real estate group, I can go on to individual cities. I can go to county meetups, state meetups. It's insane the amount of groups that are running and going right now. And I think what you were saying about the metaverse, or whatever they call it now, like, there's going to be digital meetups. So you go on your phone, on your avatar, to go to a real estate group so that you can talk real estate from people across the country using your avatar.
Yes.
Like, that's not that far off, as much as it seems bizarre.
I know. I agree. And I mean, I'm not trying to take this down and, what's the future going to be kind of a podcast, but
we can take it there if you want.
It's I definitely think it's something that we need to pay attention to. And more than ever, with businesses, you have to be willing to give your business a face, because as a business, when you're going into these groups, when you're cultivating these communities, that face is going to be maybe going out there into the metaverse to do these one-on-one conversations, going to conventions, whatever. I think that you have to be willing to step in front of the camera, because we all are going to be in this Web3 world in the somewhat near future. And the more we get comfortable with getting on video, the more we get comfortable with speaking to our authority and what it is that we do and putting our face out there, that's when the change will happen. And when you are ready for when Web3 comes out, or when these changes really start happening, you'll be ready. You'll be ready to go out there and do video and interact in this 3D world, and
the
you'll have
one
your
thing
community.
I hate doing. I hate video. I'm not a big fan. Like when I have a job interview request and they want me to send like a 60-second video, I'm like, oh, do I have to? I don't want to. That just makes me so uncomfortable.
Although it beats the alternative, like the resumes you had to send out and you had to basically picture yourself on this one sheet of paper.
Yes.
It gets super hard. I actually like the video part, because at least you can feel their demeanor, or you can hear how they speak, or I think you can pick up on social cues, which I think was lost in not by choice, it was just by technology.
Exactly.
We didn't have the ability to send videos of myself to somebody, to an employer, or to someone I wanted to work for or work with. It just wasn't around. So I'm trying to see the beauty in it. I don't like being on camera. Natasha can vouch for it. She's been like, you're the face of the company, get over yourself, go on camera, do your videos. And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. And for a little bit I was, Natasha. I did lose it
for a little bit.
I did lose it a little bit.
But this is the thing. I think that one of the best places to start getting comfortable on video is in Instagram or Facebook stories, because it's gone in 24 hours. I mean, everyone can forget about how you blundered your way through something. And honestly, if they're going to judge you by that, they're not your people anyways, because guess what? We're all humans. I cannot tell you how often my AirPods fall out whenever I'm trying to speak on video. And it's like every single time I'm like, these things never fall out. But if I'm speaking on video, they always pop out. And it's become a running joke with people that are in my community. They're like, oh, there goes the AirPod again. So everyone kind of gets it. And I think that you'll find your people. And if people want to judge you for being you and just speaking, then they're not your people anyways. And you're really going to be able to cultivate the right community when you show your face on camera, because like you were saying, they're going to get that know, like, and trust factor. They're going to feel like they really, truly know you. And like Natasha said, when she met somebody online,
I did.
It probably didn't feel weird because you'd seen their picture before, you'd heard them on video, you might have heard them on social audio.
Sure.
And when you have that opportunity, it's just like seeing an old friend that well, yeah, this is actually the first time we've met in real life. It's kind of weird. I already it just feels like I haven't seen you since like COVID or something.
I still was extremely nervous, but yes. That's okay. Now we're married. It's all good.
Kid, you brought up stories, and I have asked Natasha a couple of times because I don't understand reels and the benefit of them. I think one time I accidentally was trying to post a story and I posted on a reel, and I got a lot of views. And then Natasha has a story about her husband putting something on reel and got just a huge amount of views on it. What is the difference between reel and story? Just for me, I don't know if Natasha knows the answer. I'm just super curious.
Yeah, so a story lives so if you're looking at Instagram, it lives up at the top. And a lot of people will watch those kind of like a TV show. So those are just a quick snippet of your life. They're only being shown to your followers. So this is how you really cultivate that community. Again, you're not being pushed out there into, the hashtag hubs and everything. The only people that are really seeing your stories are the people that are currently following you. That's why it's a great place to get started with your video, because they've decided that they already wanted to hit that valuable follow button. Now you're just giving them a look inside your world and getting to know you a little bit better. So those are stories. Reels, on the other hand, that they're the TikTok copycat, and they're
Okay.
anywhere from 9, well, yeah, I guess you could have like a 7-second reel, but typically 15 to 60 seconds is how long a reel is. And this is where
Okay.
you'll see trending audio. It's a spot for you to get on and speak to your authority. And it's definitely a spot where discovery happens. So one of the most important things when you're doing reels, make sure you keep it very on brand, very in relation to what it is that you and your business does. Because if this is the first time someone is seeing you and seeing your business, and you're posting a really funny video of your cat dancing, and they decide to follow you, and now you're giving a whole bunch of real estate tips, you're going to get a lot of unfollows. So keep everything focused on your business and on your brand, because if it's the first time someone's being given an insight into you and your business and they decide to follow you, you don't want them to end up getting scared away and rushing off. So don't worry about going viral, worry about providing the best value.
Okay. So reel is more outward facing,
Yes.
trying to acquire new viewers. Stories are people that are already in your house, I'll call it,
Yes.
that want to already see your content, so they're getting that.
Yes.
I was losing sleep over that one because I accidentally did it because I was up on a lift and I think I just hit the wrong button, and then I got home and it was like 200 views, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And I called Natasha. I was like, did you see that post? And I figured out it was a reel. So whoops on that one, but it paid off. It was good. It was a
Yeah.
good accident.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that reels, I definitely think is an important part of your marketing strategy. You can post them on Facebook now. I mean, it's a great way to introduce people to you, and you're getting a lot of reach. But I think that the most important thing is making sure that you keep it on brand and not worry about the viral views, but worry about the value views, because you still can see when you look at your insights how many people have saved that reel, how many people have shared that reel. And those are the most important stats to be following, not necessarily the view count or the follow count. So keep that in mind when you decide to venture into reels. But if you haven't yet, 2022 is the year to do it, because you're already a little bit behind. You have to start doing them now.
That puts pressure on me because I'm the one that has to create the content for Natasha. So that gave me a little kick in the pants. So I'll get going on that one. Do you find any other tactic beneficial for your clients? You don't have to go into detail because obviously like that's your secret sauce. But what other avenues do you push your clients to get into, or give them some sort of, hey, this is going to be a big value add if we go this direction?
Yeah. So when you're crafting your reels, in a lot of times, one of my clients, she's a chef, and she does a lot of cooking, and she's sharing these, her in the kitchen cooking in her stories. And I'm like, this actually, if you just trim out this, this part and this part, it'll be a great 30-second reel, and you can share it with your audience. So there's a lot of times that you can repurpose your stories for a reel. And again, you have to think about the value-driven content. So a lot of times you can teach to it or speak to what it is that a tip. I've found that tips are always great. So 3 tips to taking away the social media overwhelm, or 3 mistakes you're making with your Instagram bio. Those are some reels that I've done. And it's just me going really quickly about what these 3 mistakes are. Or if you don't really want to talk, you can still hold up your hand, have the trending audio, 3 tips you're making, point to the 3 different mistakes. And it just puts more work on Natasha, but you're getting out there. You are getting those reels out there. And if you're not confident speaking on video yet, the trending audio pointing are a very great way to just get started.
Those are my favorite.
I've seen a couple of those.
Me
A couple of
too.
those.
You know why? Because you can watch them, and if it goes too fast, you can just rewind it or just replay it and watch it again. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is great.
Exactly.
Yes.
Is there anything outside of Reels that you would suggest in terms of social media? Because like when a client comes in and they're like, Katie, I need help because I have no idea what's going on with social media. What are some like big, and leave cliffhangers?
Yeah, so I think that so I do a lot of one-on-one coaching and consulting, and really the majority of people have just overwhelmed because there's so many social media platforms out there, and they all exist for a reason, all of them, and they're all different for a reason. So posting on Twitter is different than posting on Instagram, which is different than posting on LinkedIn, which is different than posting on TikTok. So focus in on where your ideal audience is, your ideal client and customer is, and then go all in on that one platform. Create the content that really resonates with them and do a great job at it. If you're doing a great job at it, then you can start adding in these different layers of social media. But if you're trying to be on every single social media platform known to mankind, you're going to get overwhelmed, you're going to get burnt out, and you're not going to see the results that you want to see. So honestly, I think take a giant step back, focus in on one or two platforms, and do a great job at it.
Perfect. So I don't have to feel bad that I know nothing about Twitter.
No,
I wouldn't even know where to start with that. I've never jumped on Twitter. I don't think I'll ever jump on Twitter.
It's a great spot for news. So if you have a
That's
lot of
where my
headlines, Twitter's the spot to be for news. It's really going, I feel like this is turning into an NFT podcast, but it's really going very heavily NFT. But another great spot if you are not comfortable on video is on social audio platforms. There's a lot of them out there. Facebook has audio rooms. Twitter has Twitter Spaces. There's kind of the OG of the social audio platforms, and which is Clubhouse. That is still around. That is very conversation driven. It is a fantastic spot to go if you want to speak to your authority, but two, if you want to just do market research, going into rooms and listening to conversations that your ideal clients and customers are having. You can hear what their struggles are. You can hear what they're working on. So that way you can craft content exactly to answer their question. So if you are trying to think of some blog ideas, you can go into a room and listen to what they're talking about. And there you might have a month's worth of blog ideas. So going into these social audio platforms is a great way to network. It's a great way to speak to your authority if you're not really 1,000% comfortable on video. And it's a great spot for market research. There's a ton of them out there now, but, and it's just like the other social media platforms. You don't need to be on every single one known to mankind because it will suck away all of your day. But it's great to spend some time, maybe choose one or two to listen to, and then start hosting maybe a weekly room in.
Yeah, and the audio stuff for me starting my business was super beneficial. And I was strictly podcast in the beginning. I just listened to all the real estate podcasts I could. And they talked about their struggles, and they talked about their successes, and they talked about the roadblocks they had. And then to caveat off of that, they had forums that you could go in and people were talking about that specific episode. So then I'm reading about those. It was the amount of knowledge that was accessible and free, and the amount of support from other people that you'd chime in with your comment, and then you'd have 20 to 30 people right back with their views on it. You're like, okay, I didn't see that angle of it, and I didn't see that angle of it.
Yeah.
That was so powerful. And I don't know if I'm overvaluing it, but for me, I was like, all of that free information 10 years ago would have taken me so many hours and so many meetings and so many phone calls to get.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, like, that's one of the reasons why Clubhouse really exploded last year. Like Grant Cardone, Elon
Yes.
Musk, they're in there just talking. And, typically you would pay thousands of dollars to see them speak at an event. And they were there and you could ask them a question. I mean, that was everything. So, I mean, you never know who else is in these rooms, who else is in these spaces that you could have the potential to talk with and learn from. So I think that if you've been sleeping on social audio or thinking that it's just another social media platform, it isn't. It's different from podcasts. It's different from social media. And I think it's definitely here to stay. And it should be maybe a part of your marketing strategy in some regard, whether you want to listen or if you do want to speak on stages.
Yeah, it's different because it's more, from what I'm hearing, and I haven't been on it, so correct me if I'm wrong, more conversational. Like it's
Mhm.
not you listen to a whole show for X amount of time and then there's a recap after.
Yeah.
This is real time interacting between various amount of people.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And in Clubhouse is definitely one of the more conversation driven social audio apps out there. But there's Fireside, which is Mark Cuban's social audio app.
I've heard of that one.
And that one's pretty cool. You should honestly look into it if you have a podcast or if you're looking to start a podcast, because it's live video, you have a live audience, and then you get the downloaded audio file at the end that you can then edit, send off to an editor, or republish onto your podcast. And you get the transcript, which you could take and publish onto your blog. And they do a lot of promotion for you. So Fireside is a great tool if you are not doing conversation-based podcasts, but something like this where there's 2, 3, 4 people just having a conversation. And then you can have people in the live audience that maybe at the end, if you want to open it up for some Q&A, people can join the conversation, but it's really cool. I think that Fireside is one that I think a lot of people have not heard about, but it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I can't remember where I saw it or where I read, because I watched Shark Tank, so I'm sure it had some rabbit hole through Mark Cuban on Shark Tank that I read or heard about it. I didn't know much about it because obviously not the techie person over here, but it seems like it would benefit like a forum, an audio forum is kind of what I'm picturing in my head at least, or like an audio blog type system.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of like, it depends on the show. I mean, it really just depends on the show. Like there's a variety. I mean, you can have your podcast art on it. You can have, the Mark Cuban Fireside is very different. It's very podcast forward, very podcast focused. And it's for people that, I mean, right now there is an extension for Mac, but right now it's still on your phone. So, I mean, when I go on Fireside, I have to set my phone up and look at my phone. But again, the audio quality is great and you're allowed to have that opportunity to interact with the audience. And if nobody shows up, it's just a different way to record your podcast and it lives on Fireside. So people could then again, listen to it later. It's just a different way to get in front of more people.
For sure.
Yeah. I have a question, but it's going to somehow, you brought up NFTs. So now my mind is wandering. Are you like well-versed in NFTs or just like scraping the surface kind of?
I am still learning on NFTs. And the only reason that I'm learning about NFTs is because I definitely see with Mark Zuckerberg changing the name of Facebook and, to Meta, and he already has the Oculus VR. So he's already kind of been playing in that virtual reality space. I think it would be naive of me to not do my due diligence on what these non-fungible tokens are, why I need to pay attention to them, and the communities that they are creating. Most NFT communities are over on Discord, but so I have 7 NFTs and I'm a part of a number of different communities and just trying to kind of learn about what these communities bring, why they're really exploding so far in 2022. I mean, we're barely into 2022 and NFTs, I feel, are on the hot topic on just about all these different social audio platforms, on podcasts. I'm going to a number of conferences this year and they have NFT speakers. So I think that it's kind of like what TikTok was maybe 3 years ago, where it's just kind of starting, but we need to pay attention to it. So I'm trying.
Yeah. Well, I was curious if they're going to create, obviously it's group based, and I did not get NFTs until I listened to I think it was a Tim Ferriss podcast where he had somebody on with NFTs and was talking about, he made the comparison to like season ticket holders.
Yes.
And us being in Wisconsin, like to be a Packer season ticket holder, you wait like 30 years to be able to get that. But with the NFT, it's basically you're a season ticket holder. Instead of being the 1,000th person in line and you have to wait, when this person who has it wants to sell it, you can jump the line. You just kind of pay to be in the club.
Yes. Yep. Pay to be in the club. Yes, exactly. So
And
a
do you
good example.
Oh, sorry, I'll let you go.
Well,
Oh, I was going to say, do you see it going to where there's going to be conferences or like real estate conventions where only the people that own this NFT
yes.
are invited to listen, and they're the only ones? Now, they'll do their speaking elsewhere and they'll go on these audio platforms, they'll go on Instagram. But if you want like the real nuts and bolts, like own this NFT, you can talk to me every week. It's like a close
Yes.
relationship.
Yep.
You think
It's
that's
like
where it's all going?
Yes, I do. And one of the NFTs I own is a diamond dog, which was created by Evan Mendoza, who is right now he plays for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's a shortstop for them, and he's created these diamond dogs. And in the diamond dog community, you have all these different dogs, and they all have different rarity traits. So some dogs are worth more than other dogs. So if you are a collector like that, like a baseball card, if I have a Tony Gwynn baseball card that's tattered and torn, cool. I have a Tony Gwynn torn old baseball card. But if I have a Tony Gwynn rookie card, that's pretty cool. But if I have a Tony Gwynn Jr., Tony Gwynn rookie card that's autographed, oh my God, like a collector wants that. And that's how all these different NFTs with their rarity traits are worth money. So that is one way of owning NFTs, is if you're like a collector and you want to own these different rare, unique NFTs. But then there's also the community side. And it's exactly like with what you said, Evan Mendoza, he gives away autographed baseballs for people that are dog owners. And if you own more dogs, then you get access to different channels of the Discord. And he'll do a giveaway where a random dog will be drawn for a stadium tour. And so, I mean, like it's different ways to be fans of, so for me, the reason I chose to invest in that community, that NFT, is I come from sports. I come from being a radio reporter for sports. And so I wanted to have kind of an NFT that related somehow with sports. And this one was the perfect fit. So I think do your own research, find the different communities, because I mean, if you just buy or mint, which is getting a brand new NFT, if you mint an NFT and are hoping for one that's super, super rare, I mean, it's kind of like winning the lotto. So you choose an NFT that has a community that resonates with you and really is focused on building that community. There's different ways to look at it, but I think that, for me, I wanted one that had a strong community where everyone was kind of supporting each other and we could talk sports together.
Yeah. In my very elementary research on NFTs, they were talking about somehow got brought in with Bitcoin, and the big thing with how the Bitcoin companies that are excelling and the ones that aren't gaining traction is their governance and their rules, and having their community actually follow those rules to make that I don't even know if you can call it a company or that little subsect of Bitcoin excel and get value within their coins. Is NFT governed all by the same?
So it's
So
on,
if I buy
most
the
NFTs
dog
are
one,
on the Ethereum network. So
okay,
not Bitcoin or Dogecoin or other coins. It's all on the Ethereum network. I have to say the best podcast on NFT education is a daily podcast. It's NFT 365 hosted by Brian Fanzo. And it's a lot to keep up with because he does it every single day. But if you're looking for a lot of NFT education, look at Brian Fanzo's podcast, NFT 365. It comes out every day. You can pick and choose which episodes you want to listen to, but essentially he is minting, which means buying a brand new NFT every single day for 365 days. And he's talking about the processes and about, some of like, if you decide you want to buy an NFT, like what if you get scammed, which happens all the time, so
That's my fear is
Yeah.
that it's not real.
yeah. And so, I mean, this is where, and he talks about what an NFT is, what the Ethereum network is. So, I mean, it starts with very, very basic 101. And then he has episodes where he has some of the NFT creators on to interview them about their project. So it's a really cool podcast. It's one that I listen to regularly. And that's where I'm getting a lot of my information from, the majority of my information. And I'm a part of his Discord community. I think it's a great community, but like I said, I'm not an NFT expert. I just know I'm trying to learn about it because I think, again, it will be a part if in some way. I mean, I think that things will change because everything changes, but right now I think that the way things are going, it will be a part of our community building. It will be a part of our social media. It will be a part of our marketing in the coming years. So maybe just do some research on it. I'm not saying to go and again, get a second mortgage on the house and start buying a bunch of Bitcoin and NFTs, but I do think you should pay attention and maybe find one or two NFTs to invest in and just see if it is right for you, if the communities are right for you, and if it is something that you want to have as a part of your strategy.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely gonna listen to that show. I'm sure they're gonna, if it's not already invented, a way to search out groups to pair you with an NFT. If I'm looking for real estate or looking for Wisconsin-based something, I'm sure there's a search engine out there for it, like the Google of NFTs.
So OpenSea is kind of the eBay of
Okay.
NFTs, and that's where you can see where all of the NFTs like marketplace is of where they are at and everything. But man, I feel like this is turning into a pitch for Brian Fanzo. His Discord is great because there's a group chat where you're like, hey, I'm looking for these type of NFTs, and there's other people in there that are also NFT enthusiasts, and they might be able to steer you in a certain direction, or he might know of one. So it's definitely a great spot if you are looking for NFT education.
Yeah, definitely interested. It would take a little bit of education to pull the trigger and get one, but I think the world of it and the community of it is fascinating. So definitely interested in learning on that one.
Well, I just put up the website and there's a ton of information on there. So we will definitely put that in our show notes today.
Yes. And if you decide to join the community, tell them I sent you. But like I said, he's been essential in me learning about this because I definitely feel, and I don't think I'm alone when I say this. It's like learning a foreign language. It really is. It's learning a whole new banking system. It's a lot to learn. And I think that's why a lot of people are resistant on it. But again, it's something just to kind of keep an eye on. And if you have maybe $200 that you're willing to just see how it is, I think that it's a great way to just kind of see what it's like. And if it is something that you want to pay attention to for your business.
I'm always so nervous to dip my little toe in. I'm like, just a little one, just a tiny little one. I get so scared, but I'm very conservative in my investing too.
Yes.
What about you, Marcus? Are you gonna dip your toe in?
I will dabble, which is surprising because when I first heard of NFTs, I was like, absolutely not. This is the dumbest thing ever. Why are people buying into this? And then I heard the whole membership side of it. And I heard about, it was actually from Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, to make the plug into Shark Tank again. He's a big watch collector.
Yes.
And he said that you could pair an NFT to the specific watch you buy so that it authenticates that it is real and it's not like a knockoff competitor type situation. So you now tie your NFT to a tangible item as like a certificate of worth to this collectible. And at that point I was like, absolutely, because now if you go sell that after the fact, after retail, and it comes with this certification of like authenticity of this is an actual valuable item, yeah, that just gave it more worth. So why would
Yeah.
you not? That's like an extra security. And at that point, like I would pay extra for a security on my asset. Like that's a no-brainer. So even if I was
Well,
like
and
against
that's,
NFT that opened the door, and then once the door was open, then the floodgates opened, and then it was like, okay, I'm interested.
yeah, well, and I think that too, that's one of the things with these NFTs is people say, well, why would I want to pay for some clip art? I can take a screenshot of it, but that's not the real thing. And it's just like the art we hang in our house. You know, if you're an art collector and you decide that you want to invest in a one of a kind Monet and it hangs in your house, the only people that are ever going to see that are the people that come over to your house. It's very similar with NFTs. Or, well, why would I want to own that? Well, you get access to this community. And then again, I'm going back to Mark Zuckerberg and his Oculus VR, virtual reality things. Let's say in the future, Natasha and I want to watch the new Scream movie together. And, she lives, I don't know where you live, Natasha, but
I live in Wisconsin too.
okay. So she lives in Wisconsin. I live in Denver. We really want to watch this new Scream movie together. And so we put on our little VRs, turn on Netflix. We're sitting on the couch together. There's the fire and let's say we're on the beach because that's enough of the cold. So we're on the beach. We want to watch the new Scream together, and hanging above the TV or on the sides are my NFTs. She can come and look at them. She can ask me about them. What do these mean? I love that this one is gold or whatever. She can see my NFTs hanging on the wall there in my own little virtual reality space as we get ready to watch Netflix together with our Oculus VR on, even though she's in Wisconsin and I'm in Denver. So is this the way the future is going to go? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but
Yeah.
maybe.
And I think it's going to take some time to cool back down, because right now people are buy NFTs. They're the best thing since sliced bread. NFTs everywhere. And it's almost like everybody's promoting the NFT. But like in your analogy, when you come over to my house and you see a picture, I'm not like, hey, go buy the picture. The picture is so cool. Go buy it. And I think once we lose that cultural, like flooded and inundated with NFT pushers, and they enjoy the NFT for what it is, I think that's when it'll become our norm. Like that's my baseline for when it's our norm. And I think more people will be apt to jump in because they're not being pressured into a sale, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's me looking outside in. So when they're in that community already, they're sure, like, I'm sure they're not pushy and all that. It just takes some getting used to. Just like somebody signing up for a gym membership who doesn't go to the gym. It's awkward at first,
Yeah,
but it becomes normal.
exactly.
You have quite the background. NFTs, marketing. You mentioned that you were a sports broadcaster.
Yeah, so I used to be the post-game reporter for the Denver Broncos, Colorado Rockies, Colorado Avalanche here in Denver for the local radio station. So 850 KOA used to cover all the games. Now they only cover all the teams. Now they only cover a handful, but I worked for them for 4 years, and that was my start with my career. Was right out of the gate, I landed my dream job as a radio reporter. And
That's really cool.
so, yeah, it was a great job. Me looking back on my younger self, I would have said to stick with it longer. This was when Sirius XM came out. And everyone in the radio industry panicked. A lot of people went to television. I had zero television experience, so I went into marketing, and podcasting and speaking is kind of the way that I still can get back to my radio roots and journalism roots. So it's always fun joining different podcasts. I have 2 podcasts. One of them is an NFL podcast. The other one's a marketing podcast. But then I love joining people on podcasts and just having a conversation.
Well, thanks for joining us today. What an interesting background you have. That's incredible.
Yeah. And as soon as you said Avalanche, when I was a kid, I played hockey up until high school. I was a huge Patrick Waugh fan. So I had this giant Avalanche flag hanging over my bed. Like instead of a headboard, it was the Avalanche flag. And then I remember watching when he had his first, he was the head coach for
And
the first time ever.
he
Tore
started,
down the middle wall. And I was
yes,
like,
I was
yeah.
at that game. Yes,
Oh,
it was.
really?
Yes. My husband is a huge hockey fan too. He actually has a podcast on hockey. I do the podcast on NFL, but we're still huge hockey fans, and we have season tickets for the Avs. So I was at that game and it was so much
Yeah.
fun. It was insane.
I just started laughing and I was like,
Of course.
that seems like him.
Yeah.
He hasn't lost the fire.
Nope.
Have you covered an episode, seeing as you're the NFL side, on Rodgers becoming a Bronco?
I'm not going to say I thought it was going to happen last year. So I'm not going to
Oh,
say it
really?
yet. I thought it was going to happen last year. I mean, Jimmy G is available. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we are thrown, a loop and having maybe Jimmy Garoppolo be traded to Denver instead of
That
Aaron
one I wouldn't
Rodgers.
see coming.
Yeah.
Because obviously San Francisco doing fairly well. They're
Oh yeah.
consistent.
Jimmy G's gone. Yeah. He's
Is
gone
he?
because they spent a first round pick on Trey Lance. So.
Oh, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. I'm gonna have to
He's
tune into you because
way above my comfort level.
I've lost all NFL background, sports background. Like I used to, when I played baseball in college, follow like everything, fantasy sports, lived and breathed sports. And I've taken a major step back. So I'm gonna have to tune into your show to catch up on my NFL stuff. Maybe I can join the fantasy league again.
Yes.
Into your show.
We do 2 episodes a week during the regular season. So a week that was recap and then a week of analysis on the upcoming week. So it's me and Scott. So the basis of the show is Across the Pond Sports podcast, and they have a host in America and a host in the UK. We talk American sports. So again, his co-host is in Britain. My co-host is in Scotland. It's a pretty fun concept.
Yeah, and with all the leagues trying to get international.
Yes, exactly.
I'm sure you said his name was Scott?
Yes, he's from Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's from Scotland. Okay. So I don't know if they've talked about Scotland, but I know that they're playing games overseas and all that. And there was talks of trying to base a team over there. Is that coming? Is from what he's sitting?
He thinks the Jaguars are going to be there very, very soon. So I think, and I mean, it seems like they play over there every year. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was the Jags, but it's
Florida can spare a team.
Yeah.
Got like 20 professional teams down there.
Exactly.
We just got some inside dirt on the NFL right there.
Super.
Well, Natasha, I guess you asked her the first time around.
I already asked this question. We have no.
You got to think of a new question.
I know. I'm going to have to think of a new question for all of our returning guests. I will put that on my list to do today, Marcus.
What is, I'll ask one off the cuff. Favorite NFL of your own podcast that you gave? What was the topic? What was it around? Just so we can check out that episode for all viewers who are like, I love NFL too. What episode should they tune into? Very hard off the cuff question.
Yeah. So, I mean, we try to always bring in fun guests. And one of the best guests that we had was Hannah Wilkes from Sky Sports. So she's one of the TV personalities from Sky Sports, which is like the ESPN.
That's a huge network.
Yeah. And so she came on the show, and it's always exciting for me because to talk sports with other women, because when I was in radio, I was kind of a unicorn. There were not nearly as many women in the journalism field for sports back when I was doing it. And it was really nice to be able to talk some NFL with another woman, and she is a big name. So it was a great episode, and I enjoyed, that's one of the best ones. That's from last year. If you want to listen to one from this year, we also had the Steelers sideline reporter come on the show. She did a fantastic job. I'm forgetting her name. But yeah, so she came on the show, and she came last year too. And she's also been on the NHL podcast. So she's a great guest too, but we have fun with it. And if you're looking we're going to do a Super Bowl show here next week. So be sure to tune into that one if you want to listen to us talk about the Super Bowl and what is yet to come.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we'll definitely tune in. I don't know if we can get a link and put it in the show notes. I don't know if is that possible? But if it is, we'll throw it in the show notes so that people can just click and link on. Is that on, what platforms is that on?
We're on all the podcast platforms.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're on Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, you name it, we're on it.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thanks again for all your time. And man, I learned so much more about your background and how well versed you are. So
Right.
I'm looking forward to like all the big things that are coming, taking all the knowledge you got from all the different fields and using it to your advantage.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again for having me. I appreciate it.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
no problem. No problem. I'm sure we'll get an update soon. But I'll be tuning into that Super Bowl podcast because I may or may not put a bet down. I don't know, but it's going to come off of your knowledge. So you've got some pressure. You better correctly.
I did win the Pick'em League this year. So there's that.
Not surprising.
Yeah. I won the Pick'em. So
congrats. Well, thanks again for your time. I appreciate it as always. Hopefully the viewers got some nuggets out of that. We'll put all your information in the show notes as well so they can get in contact with you. But until next time, enjoy it, be safe, be healthy.
Bye, guys.
See ya.